the information superhighway, an online network called Internet.
When?
Hi.
I said when.
Oh, sorry. As soon as you did that, I got a notification on my phone.
Millennials and their phones these days.
Can't put them down.
You know what?
Yeah.
Thinking about millennials gets me excited about?
Talking about being old.
About childhood. That's right, ladies and gentlemen.
Can we? I know this is incredibly unprofessional, but I feel like if people listen to our our last podcast before this, they would understand
What, you
how
want to talk
unprofessional.
about the elephant in the room?
Jesus Christ! No, I was just going to say I forgot that I'm chewing gum currently, so I'm going to go ahead and spit that out. But you fill everyone in on everything that needs to be filled in on.
All right. So first of all, no shenanigans with this one.
You're doing great, Dylan.
This is the online podcast with Scott and Dylan. Normally we introduce this podcast by doing a silly random name generator, but this time we're getting super serious on you.
It's something we've teased. I'm back. It's something that we've teased
since the beginning.
Yeah, pretty much.
We someone of a name suggested that we talk about our childhoods on an episode, and little did he know, I have a complicated childhood. I feel like Scott's is pretty cut and dry.
You'd think.
Yeah?
No.
We'll get into it.
All right.
But before...
If by cut you mean my dad was cut out of my life, then
God.
yeah, that's
Okay.
pretty close.
I got a new notebook. You
look to your left.
If you look to your... Well, if you look to your center...
My left. Yeah.
If you look to your down... it's got all kinds of stuff. It's got a space it's more organized, basically. It's got little boxes for my boxes.
You know, we don't have an Instagram, but if we did, you could expect a picture there of this notebook.
We got a Twitter.
We do.
Twitter.com/an.
We'll take a picture of it for everybody, and you can see Dylan's handwriting.
Tweet me to remind me to do that.
Yeah, because these go up.
This will go up in like a month.
Yeah. So.
Anyway. So. Before we get into it, this is what I was trying to get at when Scott went to throw his gum out.
Sorry.
The online podcast is on iTunes, SoundCloud, YouTube.
Yes.
Rate and review. Leave a comment. Leave a like or a comment. Just, it helps. I know we got these new microphones and they have elephantitis, but you don't have to worry about it. It's fine. So anyway, now that we've gotten... I'm Mr. Marketing now.
Yeah, you are.
Mr. Marketing out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
How do we want to start this?
How do we want to start it?
Yeah. Who's do we start with?
Well, I would say...
And do we want to, like, break it up into sections, like ages, or just
I would say,
childhood?
Yeah, I would say let's if we can, let's do our best to kind of do a back and forth instead of just one person having a half and then another person. So
we'll do what's like a good block, like 5 years at a time?
Sure.
Ending at like 18?
I mean, around, give or take. We don't have to be like, and then something happened, but it carried on into the next year, so I can't talk about it right yet. You know? I don't remember too much when I was like real little. My memories basically start whenever my parents were getting a divorce, which was back when I was in elementary school, something like 4th or 5th grade, something like that.
Gotcha.
So,
was that messy? How'd you feel about that?
It was kind of messy. I've talked about this before, but like my dad was the one who got me into comic books, so I think he saw me as a little version of him, right? And so he. Apologies, we don't talk about comics on the show. I know that.
That's our one rule.
But he was kind of like, I guess, saw me as the cool, not the cool son, because like I was the third of the group, but like I don't know. He just saw
Son.
me as the one that he could relate to because I was
Sure.
interested in the same things that he was.
Yeah.
We would see like I saw the first X-Men movie with him,
Nice.
and then with nobody else. It was like the first time I'd ever just done something with my dad and nobody else. And he used to take me to hockey games. He took me to a wrestling match, like a
Ooh.
pro when it was still like WWF
Nice.
sort of thing. So that was kind of fun. We used to do that stuff all the time. And then, then he was, I didn't ask too many questions when I was a kid, and I'm sure it's been explained to me, but I don't really know the reason why they got a divorce.
Yeah. Was you were young when it happened?
I was young. I was probably in about 3rd or 4th grade.
Okay. So that's like what? Like, what's the rule?
You
It's
just
like
kind of add a 5.
add 5, yeah.
Yeah, so I was
You're
about 8 or 9
Yeah, okay.
when that all happened.
That rule blew my mind when I learned about it.
Oh my god, me too.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
Like somebody was just offhand, like just add 5. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I was like, I was doing like going back to
Yeah, I was like,
then,
all right, I remember that I was 14 in this grade, so if I deduct from that, like,
Yeah.
no, just add 5.
that blew. I was trying to figure out. Well, I learned that rule when I was in elementary school.
I learned that like yesterday.
Oh.
I learned that very recently.
No, I learned it when I was in elementary school, and I could not for the life of me figure out why that worked. You know, I was like, why does that work that way? I don't understand.
Amazing.
But yeah, no. So I was real young, and I don't have too many memories of when I was young. My memory is real bad. I don't even remember what I did, last week. But I do remember
Blueberry waffles, sir.
Yeah. So I do remember that it was pretty messy for my mom. My dad kind of he went from being my hero to slowly over time becoming, oh, that guy.
Oh no.
Not that he's in my eyes, and again, I don't know the full story, but not that he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
From my perspective. I'm sure I trust that my mom had like a real good reason to not want to be married to him anymore.
Sure.
He was, as far as I know, he was never like abusive or anything. I think they just fell out of love, and then she kind of saw that he was like kind of a, I don't want to say scumbag, but kind of
From what I've heard about your dad, he just seems kind of he doesn't do much.
He's not a father figure.
Yeah.
The way that I see him, and he's still very supportive. I don't know if he's going to be listening to this. Honestly, that is a possibility.
Hello, Dad.
Yeah, because he does listen to, or he does watch my videos. So he's very supportive. He still tries to, talk to me often. But he's. I don't see him as a father figure as much as I see him wanting to be one of the guys.
Oh, okay.
And that's kind of where I transitioned from him being like my hero to just like, he's trying real hard right now.
Is he single?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay.
But I've heard just so much, on his like Facebook and just like from him talking to other people of him potentially dating and I think being engaged to or whatever, just all sorts of different women before it falls through. And I'm like, that honestly, I don't want to say it because he could be listening, but like I want to be honest here. Honestly, that terrifies me that I would turn into that person when I grow up because we're so similar.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, he seems like the very stereotypical like divorced dad, middle-aged boy.
Would you believe that he got an ear piercing after we got divorced?
Oh hell yeah! My dad had his ears pierced before he got married.
Oh yeah,
he was into it.
My family always tells this story, but like the only reason my sister got her ears pierced when she was a kid is because her and I looked identical.
Yep.
So my parents needed a way to tell us apart. But yeah. That's kind of my dad. He moved into an apartment and we would see him, I think like every other weekend or something like that. But we were still living with my mom. And then, it turned into, fun trips to dad's house too. It just felt like, it felt like a chore.
Yeah.
Like we had to go and we didn't really want to. And it was weird.
So around what age do you think this like capped off at?
I do not know. This whole section of my life kind of blends together.
Okay.
Because I know it would have been 2000. 3 when my mom got remarried.
Okay.
So let's do the quick math in our heads.
Add
there.
5.
Add 5. So around, I think I was 2008 years old.
Yes.
Is how that works.
God bless.
Yeah. No. It was 7th grade when I moved out. I was in Michigan at this point.
Okay.
And 7th grade is when my
12?
mom remarried and we moved to South Carolina.
Okay.
And then we've been living there. Which, I mean, there's a ton of stuff in between that time period when like my mom was dating and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll save that. I want to hear some more. I want to hear from your life.
All right. My early years.
Sure.
So you went up to about 12. That's too far for me.
No. I went up to. I didn't cover a lot of the stuff between.
Okay.
12 is when my mom got remarried.
Oh,
so
right.
I didn't cover a couple years before that. So I kind of went up to like maybe if I was 8 or 9, I probably went up to 10. So
Right.
like a 3-year span.
I could do 10.
Okay.
What is 10? Fifth grade?
Yeah, just subtract 5.
Subtract 5. All right. So my early years were kind of, as far as I know, they were fine. I've gone to Catholic private schools all my life, including kindergarten. Kindergarten was wild, dude. That was the best time of my life. I ate glue.
Oh, I didn't know we were gonna go back like that far.
I had Splash Day.
Nice.
Dude, Splash Day was the shit.
Mm-hmm.
It was a day where we would have all these like water instruments.
Mm-hmm.
Not like instruments, like not instruments, but like instruments.
Okay.
And they were watery.
Sure.
And we would go out and play in the water and stuff. And there was also this day where we would take like foam from a can and spray a building with it. I'm not really sure what the point of that day was.
Were you graffiti artists?
No, it wasn't like spray paint. It was like foam
Okay, like
that we would just put on the side of a building.
like shaving cream?
Yeah, shaving cream.
Okay.
That's what it was. We would put it on the side of where I don't remember why. We had an Easter egg hunt.
Oh, sure.
Kindergarten was a great time. But let's see. 1st grade through sorry, that wasn't kindergarten, that was preschool.
You went to a preschool?
Yes.
Nice.
That was preschool. Kindergarten was stupid. Kindergarten was when I started in my middle school. I was at the same middle school all through kindergarten through 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I started my journey there. And everything was pretty fine.
Yeah.
But school gives me a lot of anxiety, and
of course.
It didn't way back when,
Mm-hmm.
but when things started to stack up on top of that, school was just a huge detriment. And okay.
Mm-hmm.
For those that listen to the last podcast, I am going to talk about the elephant in the room, but not these microphones. So I need to get something out of the way before
you don't really need glasses.
I'm a fraud. No, but before I like actually get into my childhood,
Sure.
because my childhood has one theme, and that, thank you, air freshener, that is that my parents are both like severe alcoholics, and that is something that I've had to deal with my entire life. That's why, if you know anything about me, you know that I dropped out of high school in 9th grade, which we'll get to, but that's pretty much everything that's happened to me. It happened to me in my life, where I am now has been kind of thrust upon me because of this. But my early years were kind of a good sanction from it because my parents hadn't fallen off the wagon yet.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part. They would still get drunk in certain times, but my sister and I have an older sister. They wouldn't, like, because we were so young, I guess. I don't really know where their headspace was at the time because I was so young that I didn't even really realize what was happening.
Right.
But think like my most vivid early memory of it, and I was probably around 10, was when there was a time where my mom was incredibly drunk and my dad was super drunk, but he hides it better. And they were fighting. And my dad got my sister and I in the car and we were going to go to like a hotel for the night, and we went to the hotel, but then went back. that same night, and like my mom was gone, and I don't really remember what happened, but all I remember is my sister and me sitting in the stairs on the balcony, just looking and like watching and listening and stuff. And that is something that I did a lot as a child. But yeah, so I don't know. Middle school was fine.
Yeah.
It was I was sick a lot, in quotes, sick a lot. There were times where I actually was sick because I did have kind of bowel problems,
Sure,
and headache issues, but a lot of that was I didn't know at the time because like I didn't know that social anxiety was so common, and I'd never been diagnosed with anything. Still haven't been diagnosed with anything, but
right.
most of the time my stomach issues and my head issues were because of anxiety.
Okay.
Because of my home situation and school
Yeah.
being a thing. So I would miss out on a lot of days to the point where like kids would be like, "Oh, you're skipping out on school again, aren't you?" And I'm like, "Bitch, you don't know what the hell goes on." But yeah.
Yeah. I wanna get back to like early elementary school because I didn't realize we were going back like real far. I thought we were just gonna dive into the sad parts about our lives.
Oh, well, I figured I would butter it up before I'm like, my life is a
sure.
miserable pit
no.
of death.
No, I got it. I appreciate that. I want to ask you a question though.
Sure.
Because I don't know if this is like a common thing. Because I mean, I only have my own perspective. But as I look back, I wonder if it's not necessarily weird, but just uncommon.
Yeah.
But from like day one, like the first time I saw another female human around my age, I was like, I'm gonna marry her. Like all the way back in kindergarten, I had huge crushes on girls, and I feel like that sort of thing normally doesn't really happen until you get a little bit older.
It depends on the person. I think kindergarten for me, yeah, I kind of felt that way, but I didn't realize I was feeling that way. But after kindergarten, like nothing for until 5th grade. No, 4th grade. 4th grade, I had a crush on someone, but I didn't do anything about it.
Oh, sure.
And then 6th grade, I had a crush on someone, didn't do anything about it. And then 7th and 8th grade, I had a crush on that same person, did something about it, got rejected. What's up?
What's
Anyway.
up? We've all been there. But something my parents told me once that I always forget about, and it the more I dwell on it, the more it drives me crazy. Because my birthday is in August, my parents had the option of putting me in... I was always the youngest in my class because usually class would...
I was the opposite.
Yeah, so usually school would start and I would be real young, and then I would have my birthday and I'd be kind of the same age as everybody else.
Yeah.
But my parents had the option of waiting a year and putting me in the next year, and they were like, "No, let's just put him in now." And I've always thought how differently my life could have gone if I didn't meet the right people, if I didn't. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that I've wondered that too. I kind of stopped wondering that because I don't hang out with a lot of my middle school friends anymore.
Sure, but I mean, like I know for a fact that my friends shaped who I was growing up, and just my classmates who weren't even my friends, who I just kind of knew through being in, hanging out every single day. It just, I know that informed my personality, and I wonder how that would have been different if I had a completely different set of people who I was around. And like, that's the sort of thing that drives me crazy if I were ever to become a parent, because that's a huge decision. Like, it seems like a trivial thing, like, oh, do you want him to be in school this year or next year? But that will shape someone's whole life if you do it. And that sort of thing drives me insane if I think about it too much.
Yeah. That's like there's an alternate universe where you die now.
Yeah.
But no, what I was gonna say is my parents did they didn't keep me out of school for a year. They just held me back in preschool, so I did preschool twice.
Oh, nice! You're like the kid.
I had splash day twice.
You were like the kid in prison who knew all the rules
Hell
and had all the connections.
I knew everything.
Hey, you want an extra juice box? I can hook you up.
That was great though. But yeah, I was one of the oldest in my class. Constantly, and that was always nice. It never really mattered, but like, I feel like if you're the oldest, people don't care, but if you're the youngest, people care.
I loved it. I loved being the youngest.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, I don't know, I was also pretty much the smallest a lot of the time too, which is hard to imagine when you look at me, but like, No, I was real tiny, and it was a lot of fun too. Dude, I don't know if I was just ironically popular with people, like, because I was unapologetically myself when I was in elementary school.
Did you get bullied?
No.
What the fuck?
At least not as far as I know,
Kind of
because
butterbread
well, no,
childhood you had.
that's why I was saying I don't know if I was ironically popular, because I was just like looking back, I was just the weirdo kid.
Yeah, I can
like,
see, yeah.
I was the kid who would like yell. I was the class clown. I would interrupt the class.
Bullies
and I
probably stayed away from you because they were scared of you.
And then, well, I didn't do any. Well, okay, we'll get to that.
Okay.
But there were the clear, popular, attractive kids, right?
Yeah.
Even in elementary school, you can tell who in your class is like the most attractive and the most popular, right? And so I was like, well, they're never going to be. They were the kind of people who I would say, because I was kind of the class clown. Mm-hmm. If I said a joke, and this is a true example, but I'm going to apologize in advance for how dumb the joke is, because remember, I was in 4th grade.
Fantastic.
All right?
Is it a your mom joke?
No.
Okay.
This was
that's my 4th grade.
That's your 4th grade.
That's my 4th grade.
That was like my middle school, high school even.
Fair enough.
But my 4th grade joke was, you know how Subway's motto is eat fresh?
Mm-hmm.
My joke was, Subway, eat rotten. You're welcome, Internet.
Did you say that? Did you like walk into class every day and be like, hey?
No, I said it at lunch because I think somebody had a Subway sandwich like that their parents packed for them or something like that.
Oh yeah, eat rotten.
Yeah, and then no response. About 5 seconds later, one of the popular kids repeats it. Whole table laughs. Yep. And I was like, frickin' good. I want to say his name was Hunter. No. And Hunter Cop. That's right.
Hunter Cop?
I'm calling you out, Hunter Cop, because you had a frickin' awesome name.
That's a dope name. Hunter Cop.
That's like 2 professions in one human being.
That's amazing.
Yeah, he so obviously with a name like that, he was one of the popular kids.
Sure.
Do that. But like the popular kids kind of liked me, and this happened all the way through like even a little bit of high school.
Yeah.
But I when it came to high school, I felt like, oh, they just ironically like me.
Yeah.
Like because I
mean, it's better than being bullied.
Yeah, I mean because they got to a point where I was really smart in high school for like the first 2 years. And then the last 2 years, I didn't care about anything, and I barely graduated.
You're delinquent?
Yeah. But I was real smart, so all the popular kids wanted to like have me on their team or whatever, so I could, so I could do whatever. But they also just thought I was funny, I guess, or just charming. I don't know. But it got to the point where I'm like, I'm not doing or saying anything, but for some reason these people want to be around me, and I feel like it's not a genuine like thing. But
Fair enough.
I mean, I don't know. That's kind of, I have many stories, but what about you?
I kind of wanted to transition that into bullying a little bit.
Yeah.
Did you ever get bullied, like, at all? You were just ironically popular forever?
I went to 3 different middle schools.
Okay.
Because we moved. Right. That was the time I was in 6th grade when my mom got remarried to my stepdad. And then we moved to South Carolina, and I went to 7th grade at one school, which is terrible, and that's the one I'll talk about. And then I went to 8th grade at a completely different school that was way better. But the 7th grade school was like a school for delinquents. That was a school where students and teachers physically fought each other some days.
Oh, no.
And I hated it. I hated it so much that...
It's awful.
So you have to take it from my perspective. A little backstory here. When I was growing up, so more childhood on the thing.
We don't talk about childhood on this podcast.
When I was in elementary school, my parents would drop us off in the morning at like a daycare, and then they'd pick us up later. That daycare was horrible. It was the worst, and it's where people. I'm gonna regret saying this, but I'm sure I've said it somewhere before. I do not like saliva.
It grosses black people.
No, God. Close second. No, but I'm kidding. Scott's outrageous. No, but I do not like saliva. It grosses me out.
Don't.
No, but like if I see it, it immediately like I go pale. I can't like move or say anything. It's horrible, and I hate it, and I almost vomit, and I have to keep myself from vomiting.
Gotta break it to you. There's a whole lot in your mouth.
It's fine. It's mine. But even still, though, like let's not get into it. The point is, I got that. It's not a fear, but I got that disgust, that hatred of saliva.
I have the same thing with icing
from my daycare.
Yeah.
Because there was one time, and this actually informed two things about me.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a story within a story. I apologize, but like there was one time at daycare when we were eating breakfast and usually just cereal or something, just cereal, milk, classic combo, and I was like, hey, can I get some more milk? There's not a lot of milk going in here.
Someone spit in your cereal.
The daycare lady instead picked up my bowl and drank all the milk out of it.
What the fuck?
And her saliva was lingering in the bowl, and I had to finish the cereal.
What? Why?
I don't know. I hated it. So
who made you finish the cereal?
She did.
What the fuck?
And so from this,
call her out.
From that,
Hunter Cop's mother,
Miss Marilyn, I'm calling you out. You're actually a family friend, I guess. I've never talked to you since then. But the point is, from that moment, not only did I have a disgust for saliva, but I also, every time I eat cereal, people tell me I put too much milk in, and I'm like, it's because I can control it now.
Oh, that's great. I'm gonna watch next time you eat cereal. I'm just gonna watch from afar.
I do put too much in. I do put. I'll admit that. But anyway, the reason I was telling that story, I cannot fathom why. So bullying. Yes. I don't know how I transitioned there. But
she bullied you, kind of.
She sure did.
You fucked up.
In 7th grade, the school I went to, it was the only time I've ever been bullied, and it was by two. It was mostly by one girl.
Okay.
And her friend, kind of a side thing.
What are you? Not a man?
Yeah, you're right. I was not. The reason I went back and told this story about. Sorry, that was me. Oh, that was my shoes.
Oh,
edit that out.
No.
The reason I went back and told that story is because I would throw a tantrum every morning when I went to go to middle school, middle school, because when I was at that daycare, that horrible daycare, my parents would not believe me when I brought home stories like that about the person drinking the milk and making me eat her saliva or whatever. And so when I went to this horrible middle school and I again was telling them stories about how students fought a teacher or this person got into a fight and there was blood everywhere or whatever like that, my parents were like, just, you gotta go to school though. And so I threw a tantrum because they just
different school.
Yeah. So because it's just reliving a kind of similar nightmare.
Right.
But I went to that school and I was bullied by one girl and her friend, and from like day one that I had showed up.
Yeah.
And they just, for some reason, I guess, bullied me because I thought I was ugly, which, to be fair, I was a very awkward, ugly child growing up.
We all were.
Yes. In fact, my whole family, we have old pictures and we're hideous, but like nowadays we're pretty good.
Nice wonders glow up.
But yeah, they just thought I was ugly and weird or whatever. I don't even think they thought I was weird. They just thought, they also thought I was
like
mean.
Kid Logic. What?
They also thought I was mean, but only because they were mean to me first. And like they would like be mean to me and I would just be silent and like kind of stare at them, and like I was never confrontational, so I never like fought back. They didn't like fight me, but they were very mean and very kind of verbally aggressive towards me, and all I did was kind of like ignore them and do angry stares back. And it was those angry stares that'd be like, man, that kid's mean. I'm like, you're mean. What are you talking about?
Oh boy.
But then it got to a point in math class that all ended when, because again, I was kind of a math whiz when I was growing up.
You solved the quadratic equation.
You're right, I did. No, I was kind of a math whiz growing up, and I was in math class. My teacher thought I was I was my teacher's favorite student because I was
You're
just
a
really
teacher's pet.
I'm not really. I was just really good.
Fair enough.
Whoa. I know. I'm sorry, but it's just how it was. And so we would do like practice equations at the start of every class, and instead I just got them all like wrong purposefully, and I just wrote things. I wrote my name as like loser nice wonder because I was just like it just got to me so much that I hated it. And then she kind of took me outside and was like, hey, was anything going on? And then I kind of told her about it, and then she got that she kind of talked to them, and then they, on their own like whim, kind of like wrote me notes apologizing and everything. So it was kind of cool. And then, but my favorite part of that whole exchange was that the teacher made me do the practice equations again, just kind of like on my own after the whole situation went down. And then I like turned it in, and she looked at it and she goes, "And of course you got it all right."
Nice.
I loved it.
So as far as bullying for me goes, I had like 4 types of bullies.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Throughout my existence. 5 actually.
Goodness. I didn't know there were more than 2 types of bullies.
No, I had many types.
All right.
So the first one was in a daycare that I went to. I know where it is. I could picture it, and it scarred me.
Oh, sure.
But I don't know why, but my parents, for like just 3 nights, the worst 3 nights though, put my sister and I in a daycare. My sister was Miss Popular. She was fine. Me, I was like a runt of this like group of awful children who like spit on me, pushed me down the stairs, did all this shit to me.
Oh God.
It was terrible. I did not want to go back there. I told my parents, and even they were like, "Okay, I'm sorry." They felt guilty. That was not a good time. But that one I don't remember as clearly because I was much younger. Number 2 is the bullies in middle schools. There were like 3 types of bullies in my middle school.
Are these subsections, or are these just 3 of the other?
No. They're like the types of bullies. No, not
Right.
subsections.
Okay.
Daycare is different.
Okay.
But okay, so there was one guy who I won't call out because he's kind of nice now. But he was like in my friend circle, kind of. My friend circle was big and it overlapped with other cliques, but we had like a core group, and he wasn't in the core group, but he was like in the outer ring. And we'll call him John. And John was the worst bully. He was my only like full-on bully throughout middle school.
Okay.
Because what he would do, ladies and gentlemen, he found my YouTube channel. And what he would do was...
This was, just to clarify, this was not your current YouTube channel.
No. This is Chowmaster, which I don't mind saying because people have found it. Yeah. This was Chowmaster, height of cringe me.
Yes.
And he realized that before I realized that.
Yeah.
So we had a computer class where the whole class would just sit on their computers and like take typing tests or do like Word documents, assignments and stuff that we would do. And what he would do, he was kind of tech savvy. So he would go on to my YouTube channel in computer class, find like bad screenshots of my face, Photoshop them and write like mean things on them and send them to everyone in the lab.
Oh my God.
And he would get away with it because he was friends with the kid whose dad was teaching the class.
Oh, I hate that so much.
And everyone fucking laughed at me, even my friends, because they thought it was funny. And I was just like, no. And it was bad. But then there were like the actual bullies. This is another type of bully where like the traditional like jock type people, the sporty dudes, and they didn't pick on me that much because I never gave into it. Because any shit that they did, they were like, "You're fucking fat, your fingernails are too long." I'd be like, "I don't give a shit." But the only time there was one of them named, and I will call him out because he's probably still an asshole, Philippe.
What a pretentious name,
right?
By the way.
I'll give you one example of this, and this kind of ties in. I'll just mention quickly. Most teachers hated me for no reason. They would pick on me and single me out during class and be like, "Bitch, fuck you for just doing your job."
God.
And this one specific teacher, who I feel like still hates me because I saw her like a year or 2 ago,
sure.
and she was like, "Hey," I was like, there was one time after class where we were getting all our books together, and I had like this brand new Jedi book that I was reading and all my textbooks and stuff in my hand. Philippe walks over to me, just looks me up and down, slaps my books on the ground and starts jumping on them. My brand new fucking book starts stomping on them. Teacher's 3 feet away. I look at her, said, "You gonna do anything?" She's like, "Nope." He just fucking does this.
You kidding me?
And I like yell at him to stop, and then he goes away. I pick my books up, and that's all I can do.
Oh my God.
And then there was another time where 2 more Philippe stories. This guy was a dick.
Okay.
So 2 times where I kind of lashed out. I have anger issues. I've talked about this before. And they were at the height in middle school because I was living with my parents and they were drunk all the time and caused me a lot of stress. Yes. So I hate using this word, but I had like triggers where just someone would do something to me and it would set off like all the like pent up shit that I didn't talk to anyone about because I didn't have anyone to talk to anybody about because I thought it was embarrassing, which has since changed. Clearly, I'm talking about it on a fucking podcast. Yeah, right. But
that all of a dozen people listen to.
Yep. But there was this one time in we were like packing up our books. It was after science class, I think, and I had this bag of colored pencils that I got like 100 colored pencils. I was super into it.
He swapped two of them around.
No.
And it drove you crazy.
I had this pencil bag of colored pencils, and I was a colored pencil king. I went to the store and I was like, Hobby Lobby, give me the biggest colored pencil pack you got. So I put them in a pencil bag and went to school the next day.
They're like, is this one okay? And you're like, not big enough.
Not enough, Mom. No, but people were like just kind of filing out. Teacher was still there and everything. And this, I still am proud of this moment. He came up to me and again, in Philippe fashion, knocked my pencils to the ground. I don't think, to be fair, in his defense, I don't know why I'm defending him. I don't think he knew that the pencil bag was open, but it was open. So he swatted to the ground.
No excuse.
No, yeah, it's not an excuse, but he swatted to the ground and the colored pencils went everywhere. And I just looked him deadpan in the face and said, pick them up.
Yeah.
And I just watched him fucking pick them up.
Oh,
and the teacher 4 feet away didn't do anything. And I was like, damn right. You stay the hell over there. And that was one of those days where I was just through. I didn't have any of it.
Of course.
So I was just like, fuck you. Pick these pencils up. And he did. And it was great. And
justice.
Hell yeah.
I mean, a little bit.
Just a little bit. And the last Philippe story is... no, this wasn't Philippe. This was Philippe and another guy.
Okay.
But I have long fingernails. It's clear. I'm not self-conscious about them anymore because I don't like... They're too long right now, but I don't really care. Gender norms are stupid, whatever. But
sure.
People would pick on me a lot for them because they would see them and be like, oh, what the fuck? Your nails are so long. And one day, because it was like a running gag among these jocks, one day we were walking to PE and Philippe and this other dude come up to me and they're like, well, you gonna cut someone with those nails, man? What are you doing?
You slit his throat.
Close.
Oh no.
I was having the worst day, a very bad day, and I just turned to him and like tried to punch him, but didn't close my fist, so I just scratched the fuck out of him, which like proved his point, but also like was not okay. So I got like sent to not really detention because they knew I was a good kid, but I got like a demerit or some shit. I think we had blue slips was our thing.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, that's 3 types of bullies?
That's quite a bit.
I got 2 more.
Okay.
Sorry. I was bullied a lot in school.
No, it's fine. Can I just drop in some like reminders here because of stories that you're reminding me of so that I can tell them when it's back to my turn? I also had anger issues growing up. So just my entire 5th grade is like the most clear it's still muddied, but it's the most clear of like me growing up.
Yeah.
Sort of a thing. And the other thing I want to talk about is one story I'm sure I've told you. It's the time I got suspended for a death threat. So,
right.
Yeah.
We'll write those down so that we remember. So yeah, the 4th type of bully. I'm going to change this to 5.
Did you just write Scott's death?
I'm adding in threat. I had a train of thought thing. Scott's death. That's
Let me tell you about the time that I died.
So, all right, 4th type of bully. This was the most passive type of bully. This was high school, tail end of 8th grade, where it was cool to be like a nerd,
sure,
and shit like that. High school people were kind of more accepting, but there was still like the group of people who would like make me into their personal monkey. Like, I remember a specific time where I was, like, talking about Pokemon with someone, and they brought up a Pokemon on their screen, and I was just like, oh, yeah, that's Gigazor, or whatever the fuck. And they were like, oh, give me just a minute here. And he pulled up, like an array of every Pokemon ever, and they just started pointing to ones, and was, like, having me name them. And it was, like, an ego boost to me, because I was like, hell yeah, I know every Pokemon.
I am so smart.
But the rest of them, they were like, this fucking guy is stupid. What the hell is he doing? I was fine with it because at that point as well, that's another thing that the like jock bullies didn't really ever get to me because I was doing YouTube at the time.
Yeah.
So I was being exposed to the fifth type of bully, the cyber bully.
The cyber bullies.
Transition. But yeah, that's
I was
that's the one I
of those.
still transition into it. Go.
Yeah, so I in high school, it's kind of a long, complicated story that sets it up. But basically, one of our teachers was fired for a reason that I won't get into because it's complicated. But we were all
fucked the kid.
He was accused.
Was he really?
Yes.
What the fuck?
He was accused, but we all knew he was innocent. It was really what happened was
that sucks.
Really, what happened was the student made advances, and he said no, and then she got really upset that
Jesus
he wouldn't
Christ.
respond, and she made accusations, and the school's hands were
I
tied.
feel like your like school stuff is more TV than mine was.
Yeah. But yeah, the point is, yeah, like she quickly transitioned into a different school because everyone was like, "You're a liar."
Right.
But anyway, what happened is the news story broke about our teacher, and it was just on like an online news website, and it was a website that we had access to in school. So a couple friends of mine, we were all jumping to the teacher's defense in the comments because people were just immediately saying that he was guilty. Without any sort of evidence one way or the other, supporting it. And so we wanted to jump to his defense. And we could have done a better job doing so. But we were like punk high school students who were basically just trolls, just online trolls. And we were insulting these commenters on again a news website. So it got to a point where I had made what they called a death threat.
Yeah.
On a news website. I just said I said something along the lines of, I'm not defending this by any means.
No.
But I said
stating the facts.
I'm stating the facts. I said something along the lines of like, let's meet up sometime so I can destroy you in person. That was the word I used. Destroy you in person. Not like kill or murder. Destroy. Interpret that as you want. And so with that done, you would not believe that the news organization whose website I left that comment on picked that up as a news story the following day, printed in a newspaper with like my screen name and everything, and they had tracked it back to the school. And before it actually became like in a newspaper, before it was just like, hey, like I got called in to like the vice principal's office, and they were like, hey, we know that you wrote this because it's tracked to your account and everything. Yeah. Could you not do that? Like they were kind of trying to play it off as because I was never a trouble student in high school.
Yeah. And
so they were just like, could you not do this? And I was like, yeah, maybe. I was like, sure. I'm sorry. I just, I wanted to defend the teacher or whatever. And they kind of understood where I was coming from and whatnot. And they were cool about it. But then when it actually got printed in a newspaper, they just called me in. It was such a scene from a movie. Like they just called me in and like, they were reading the newspaper, like kicked up, feet kicked up on the desk. Oh my God. Just like reading the newspaper, and it kind of flips down. And he's like, so we have to do something.
That's great.
And I got it's the only time in my life I've ever been suspended, and I got suspended for, I think just a couple days, like maybe like 3 days or something like that. Okay. It wasn't not long at all.
With pay?
Yeah, with pay. You're right.
All right, cool.
As schools should work.
Yep.
And I remember coming home. Well, I got the rest of the day off, and I just spent it with.
Hell yeah!
I spent it with a friend of mine, so that was kind of rad. But then when I got home,
oh no!
Yes, once again, scene right out of a movie. I walk in the door. I see like my parents sitting on the couches, and on the table there's like an open Bible, and I was like, oh jeez,
oh no!
What did I do?
You need Jesus.
Yeah. So that was that was that whole story. And that's also why my old online accounts, as you know, were the Ace Convict. Because Ace was because I was super into magic.
Yeah.
And the convict part came because
you spent 3 days in the slammer.
Yeah. Well,
your bedroom.
At my parents' house. Yeah. Which I love my parents. Don't get me wrong. I love my mom and my stepdad are amazing people, and I love them to death. But at that point in time, they were really super overprotective of all of us, and couldn't. They just thought that they were blaming themselves. They thought that they did a terrible job parenting me if I were to do something like that. And I get where they're coming from, but it wasn't you guys. I was just a punk kid. I was a teenager, you know.
Punk ass Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you've got your anger?
Yeah, I mean,
Talk about that.
5th grade was kind of I apparently had anger issues. I don't recall too much of it because as my mom would describe it, I would Jekyll and Hyde sort of a thing.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So I don't remember basically any time I've ever gotten mad.
Yeah.
And I'm not an angry person. I hope, right? Would you vouch for that idea?
You're not an angry person at all.
I try not to be. I was on medicine for a big period of time in elementary school and I think a little bit of middle school to kind of ease that. But then it got to the point where I don't know, something happened, and it could have been something in my parents' divorce or something. But I just stopped being
something.
Yeah, I just stopped being angry, and I just well, no, that's not true. It probably wasn't the divorce because a lot of this stuff was happening in 5th grade, which is when I was angry, and my parents were already divorced at that time. And so what happened was people would make that excuse like, oh, don't take it out too hard on him. Don't punish him too hard because he's going through a rough time at home. When really, I mean, that could have been the case, but I don't really know. I think I would just had a lot of chemicals going on in my brain. Yeah. And something like almost like what feels like a switch just flipped. And all of a sudden I'm just not an angry person.
I think for me, my anger issues at least are they're always rooted in stress, but as a child they happened a lot more. Like I would have like classic tantrums. Yeah. And
I mean, my parents, again, I don't remember any of this, but like my parents would tell me that I was in class one day just throwing shoes at people. Like I don't remember that.
Dude, you blacked out. That's became the shoe thrower.
That's what they said. I don't recall. But all right.
Great. But no, I most of the time, because like I didn't know how to process emotions back then, so I would just, something would tick me off. Most of the time it would be a game. A game would tick me off, and I would throw the controller or like punch myself in the face or
what?
Yeah, I would hit my head against the wall.
Oh my god.
I still do occasionally, but only when it's real bad.
Yeah.
My anger's gotten a lot better since I moved out of my parents' house.
That's good.
And stuff like that. Like you've seen me break down a couple times.
Yeah, a few times.
But it's.
I don't think I've ever seen it get like real bad.
No, you've never seen it get real bad. It only ever really gets super bad when I'm alone. But the one time I can think of was just I was having a super stressful day. My parents were drunk at the time, and I was trying to put Legendary away, and you and Kevin were here. And the way that I have Legendary set up in the boxes is just stupid. Like the cards always fall over each other when I'm trying to put them back. And there was a point where I was trying to put like one card back, and that one card wouldn't fucking fit. And I just like smashed the box and threw all the cards everywhere and like yelled. And that was, if you guys remember a while back on my channel, I took like a week off. That was why. Because I was like, I've got too much on my plate. I need to chill out for a week.
Yeah, that makes sense. The only time I ever get real angry is always whenever technology goes wrong. Yeah. Like if it doesn't work. It's the one thing in my life where like I understand that people can have different like opinions, can like if I'm counting on my friend to come and like hang out, I understand if he's got stuff on his plate, that's fine. But like technology is something where I'm like, no, you were invented to work for me.
Yeah.
You don't get a day off. All right? Like so when the Wi-Fi goes out and I'm trying to upload a video or something, there was one time, the last time I can remember getting incredibly angry was when I wanted to do a live stream on the channel like years ago for like when we had 3,000 subscribers or something like that.
Amazing.
And we had just moved into our house. Like at that point, we had just moved into a new house, so our Wi-Fi wasn't set up. So then I was like, well, okay, I already made the event, and people are counting on me. So many people are counting on me to be there. 100 people maybe are actually going to show up. Maybe more like 20. But
I get 10, and I have 14,000 subscribers.
Yeah, but this was like an event that I'd built up.
Yeah.
So then we went over to a friend's house, and I could not get their Wi-Fi to work either. And so I came home just so angry and so disappointed that I felt like I let down everybody, all those 20 people who might have showed up to that thing.
Hey man, everyone counts.
Yeah.
That reminded me of another night where you probably have seen me get set off. Was that night we were trying to stream?
Yeah,
with the hot
and
dog.
you took a hammer to
that was fucking cathartic, dude.
Yeah.
The part of that was anger. Part of that was just because I thought it was gonna be funny.
Yeah.
But you were like, no, you really didn't want me to do it.
I mean, I guess everyone has their own way of dealing with stuff. I just didn't want you to succumb to the anger, you know?
No, I do most of the time.
Yeah.
But no, that was we were trying to stream just because we wanted to, and I had a
Marvel Ultimate Alliance, a game we still haven't beaten.
Right. And I had a hot dog that just was not working. It was used. I bought it from a friend, and it just wasn't working.
And it was working.
Yeah,
earlier.
that was the thing. It was like it was working and then it wasn't working. It was working and it wasn't working. It was all this shit. We like tried uninstalling driver software.
Yeah, we
drove to Walmart to try and buy a new one.
No, we drove to Walmart to buy
a new cable.
A new cable, and that was because that was the only thing that we were missing. And then by the time we got back, it just wasn't working.
Yeah, that's right. It just wasn't working at that point, and. There was a point where I was just so frustrated with it where I was just like, it's probably bricked. It's not working. So I seethed for a bit. And then Kevin and you were talking and I was just kind of silent. And then I grabbed the hot dog, grabbed the hammer and went outside.
That's right.
and then smashed it and came back in. And
amazing.
That was that. I feel like, no, I think I threw it away. I should have kept it as a trophy of my triumph.
I love that.
But yeah, that's my more casualties of my anger. I threw a GameCube controller into my kid bedroom, and there's still a hole there from that. Pokemon Coliseum got me real lit. But no, anger is something that I've been able to fix a lot more. I've come to terms with stress and anxiety and stuff, and have identified what's causing it. So that's, if anybody does have anger issues, if you think it's super severe, you need medication for it, then go do that. I've never been medicated for it.
Yeah.
But just if you feel yourself getting angry, figure out what's causing you to be angry, stop doing that thing, or take a break from something.
Yeah. My growing up in Michigan, my parents had a couple systems for if any of us were angry.
Yeah.
We had a punching bag.
I need one, dude.
Yeah.
I want to punch things so often, and I only have pillows.
We had a punching bag, and we also had a drum set. So.
Oh, okay. I thought you were gonna punch the drums.
No. You just bang out your problems, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
But those were both very I felt like both of those are pretty effective. To if you're really angry with somebody or something, to just let it all out.
Yeah.
And also at the same time have a little fun while you're doing it.
Oh hell yeah.
And yeah, I mean that was around the time when I think my stepdad got back into the picture, or got into the picture for the first time, I should say.
Sure.
Which I don't know if. I don't know if I've ever told you this. Did you know that my mom and my stepdad were high school sweethearts?
Yeah, you told me that.
Yeah, it's such a fun story, but it's also kind of so it's no secret that I'm a big fan of Gilmore Girls, and there's one part where there's one of the characters, Lorelai, is dating somebody. No spoilers. It's an old show. She was dating Luke, and they were talking about how. There's a story where these two old people fell in love, but they didn't get married, and they had married and kids, and then their spouses died. Then they, at the end of their lives, they kind of found each other, and it's such a happy ending. And she was like, "That's not a happy ending. They didn't get a middle. They only got an end. I want a middle." And like that's kind of what I almost feel like with my parents a little bit is they had the beginning part of being high school sweethearts, and then drifted apart, got married, both got had kids, both got divorced, and then found each other back through some equivalent of Facebook, but Facebook wasn't around at this time.
Oh, okay. Match.com.
Because I don't know when Facebook started or became prevalent.
6? 4?
Okay.
4?
Because they got married in 2003, so this was, and they were dating about a year or two before then, I think. I actually have no memory of my mom as a single parent, but she had to have been one for a while.
Right.
I have zero recollection of that. It felt like as soon as my dad left, my stepdad entered.
Okay. Just like in your mind
in my memory.
Yeah.
Like I know that it's not like something where my mom was already talking to him beforehand. I mean, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that helped, but push my mom to get a divorce.
That's the real reason.
I don't care because he's great. Like,
I've met him. He seems great.
He's the guy that my mom, like those two belong together.
Yeah.
Like I am no believer. I'm not a believer in the concept of the one, like I think that takes all the romance out of it. If you're like, if destiny, if fate forces two people, like they're the one, it's like, there's no other option sort of a thing. Whereas I think it's much more romantic to say, out of all of the possible ones, I choose to be with you. Like
this one.
Yeah, exactly. But like those two, my mom and my stepdad are like I have never seen a human being love another human being as much as my stepdad loves my mom. Like it's so adorable to the point where it's sickening sometimes. Like
that's great.
Every morning he wakes up and we have a chalkboard in our house and he writes a different message for her every morning saying like, "Good morning, beautiful, you're the love of my life," and all that. And it's always different every morning, and it's
disgusting.
I know, it's amazing. But like he was him and I argued so much when he first came onto the scene. When he was just like a friend of mom, I was like, cool, we're gonna chill, we're gonna hang, it's gonna be a good time. Oh, you want to get married?
No. That's my mama.
I remember this was at the time when I kind of had like the Jekyll and Hyde stuff going on.
Okay.
So like immediately when he was like, "Hey, I want to get," he's like, "Hey, we're gonna get married." It was like the decision they made on their own because. Yeah, that's what should happen. But they were like, "Hey, we just want to let you know we're gonna go get married." Then
said it just like that.
No, there was like a big announcement.
Yes.
It wasn't like a big sit down, everyone, we have a big important meeting sort of a thing. It was more just like we were all in the kitchen one day and they're like, "Hey guys, happy news, we're gonna get married."
Hey.
That sort of a thing. And I was like, "Do I have to call you dad?" And he was like, "Nope." And I was like, "Cool." And then like 30 seconds later I was like, "But what about my dad?"
Oh no.
And I was real sad and angry and shouty, but man, no, it's I can't even imagine. Him and I don't even have like a really good relationship. Like we don't talk that much.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where I know if I ever needed anything, without like just in a split second, he'd be there to support me, and I just
nice.
It's such a nice feeling to have, even though he's all about sports and I am not, and that's his thing.
Yeah.
You know, like how people have their thing.
Yeah.
His is just sports and coffee. And so
you got coffee.
Now I do. But like I didn't when we were growing up. I was like, coffee's gross, sports are boring.
Got 'em.
And so we had nothing to talk about. And that was also why I connected with my dad, because my dad's not a coffee drinker, and he watches sports, but he's into comic books, so I can talk to him. So it's like, I don't know. So I had a hard time adjusting.
Yeah.
But
makes sense.
But everything is great now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to close this one out with you could, I don't know if you have like a changing period in time, but I definitely have like a ballad that starts in high school and ends now.
Oh,
that I can go through
right now.
Yeah, that's like the real sad shit.
Okay,
that I want to go through.
I mean, nothing that's going to be as interesting as yours.
Okay.
But I just went from super smart whiz kid in early high school to I fell in with a group of cool dudes who I still respect and I think are funny and fun to hang out with. But
Yeah.
again, it was another group who I'm pretty sure only liked me ironically but we hung out a ton and I was very much different from everybody else. They did drugs. They listened to different music than I did.
Ooh, edgy.
They were like the kind of people that dressed in all black, but they weren't like moody and sullen. They were just they were fun goofballs, and they kind of coerced me to skip class with them a bunch of times, and that was when my school career kind of fell down from that point because I just wasn't going to class. I didn't care anymore. All I wanted to do was hang out with those guys because they were cool. I never did any of the drugs for my entire life, and that's not just me saying that because this is being up anywhere. Like that's something that I feel like my parents somehow drilled into my head real easily. Was I've just never done drugs, and yeah.
You can say the same thing about my parents, just in a different way.
Oh no! But yeah, that was kind of just my whole transition from like good school student to just immediately kind of fell off. But I mean, it shaped me. It shaped me into who I am, hanging with those guys because they were really funny guys and just a ton of fun to hang out with, even though they didn't. Even though they took me away from academics, but I think it only benefited me in the long run.
I think friends are more important than academics. But anyway, now it's time for the Ballad of Dylan.
Lay it on me, man.
Lay it on you. Okay, so let me set the stage here. 8th grade, everything's kind of fine. My sister is still in high school. She's about to graduate. Her 8th, basically, she was always 4 years ahead of me. So when I was in 8th grade, she was in 12th grade, ready to graduate and go off to college in Arkansas. So 9th grade hits. Sister's gone. Parents stopped giving all fucks.
Yeah.
I still to this day do not know why that was the time. But at that point, they stopped caring. Them getting drunk got worse to the point where they were basically neglecting me. They wouldn't feed me. They would forget that I was there. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't take me to school or anything because they couldn't. They physically couldn't. And stuff like that. So, first semester of 9th grade was fine. There was 1 week or so period that was kind of shaky. But second semester of 9th grade was where things got real bad. And I say this a lot. I dropped out in 9th grade, which is true to an extent. Around May of 9th grade, my parents got I don't want to say the drunkest they've ever been, but drunk for the most extended period of time. They were drunk for over a month, which had never happened before.
Oh, yikes.
So there was a point where, like, 2 weeks into May, my mom came upstairs and was like, "You got to go to school, man. How you going to get to school?" She wasn't as, like, articulate in that. She smelled real bad. I remember that distinctly. And I was like, "No, I'm done. I can't. I've literally missed 2 weeks of school because of you assholes. I cannot go to, if I go to school, I'm just going to have to, I'm going to have to go to summer school or make all this shit up in study hall. And there's not enough time left in the semester for me to make it up. So I'm going to have to go to study hall or do some other plan." So I said, "Fuck it. I'm done." I dropped out. So the rest of May was over. And then that kind of resolved itself in my aunt and uncle came to get my mom and we stayed with them for a week in Louisiana. And that was actually a really fun time. My mom sobered up, and I love my aunt and uncle, and they were super great. We stayed with them. It was a good time. I read some Uncanny Avengers. Nice. I remember that. Good little detail.
We don't talk about comics here?
Oh, sorry. My bad. Yeah, so we went back. I decided that I was going to enroll in online classes because I realized that part of me was like, I want to focus on my career and my YouTube channel and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And the other part of me, which wasn't the part that I really told my parents, was the smart part of me that was saying, if I'm going to actually have a high school career, I can't go to a physical school because I know they're going to get drunk again. The thing that I kind of haven't really explained is it happened like clockwork. Around my birthday, they got drunk. Around Christmas, they got drunk. Around May, they got drunk. and it would just happen over and over again. It was like seasonal depression, kind of.
Sure.
And I do have seasonal depression because of that,
Oh.
which is kind of a mess. But so where was I? Oh, online school. So I enrolled in online classes and kind of did that for a while, all through 2015-ish. And there was a point where I felt like it was useless to me, the information I was learning.
Right.
Because it was.
Sure.
And I was at a point I started working for Drake, and that was when I kind of officially dropped out, because I was at another point where I was like, I'm watching cartoons talk to me about science every day. I do not care. I'm finishing all my assignments real quick. None of this is sticking. None of this is going to help me in my career. So I fully dropped out and got my GED, which if you do ever drop out, you should at least get your GED, because that's a high school equivalency diploma. It's proof that you actually don't need high school. But anyway, so I got that, dropped out, blah, blah, blah. Everything was fine. Fast forward to Thanksgiving of that year. I think it was 2015. Yeah, 2015. And my parents were drunk on Thanksgiving and a couple weeks before then. So my buddy Kevin invited me to stay with them, because Kevin and I was able to open up to other people at this point. So Kevin and a couple of my other friends knew what was happening, mostly Kevin. And I had Thanksgiving with them, and I went back, and I was at the point where I could drive and kind of like knew what the hell I was doing. So I had called the cops multiple times on them for like fighting and doing all this shit. And Thanksgiving was like a mess, because they like tried to like have a Thanksgiving. Like my mom attempted to cook mashed potatoes, and it was a mess. And it was like, it was miserable. There were some scary times. But jump forward like a week or two, I think. Okay. And no, actually just a couple days. And my mom was like, she ran up to my room and like was cursing me out and stuff for no reason. I wasn't doing anything. I was just in my room. And then she fell over because she was stumbling and she was drunk. She fell over and ran down to my dad saying, Dylan pushed me. Go yell at him. Do something about it. So my dad came out to me fucking brutally mad, because they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
Right.
They were both incredibly angry, red in the face, just yelling at me like, you cannot do that to your mom. Blah, 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 blah. Everything is bad. And my mom downstairs, meanwhile, was like, call the cops, get him into jail, send him to jail. He hurt me.
Oh my God.
So my dad didn't do that, and my mom couldn't do that. So I called the cops. Yeah. Because if someone was going to call the cops, I wanted to do that. And I was like asking my dad, meanwhile, are you going to call the cops? Because I don't want to leave to Kevin's house if you're going to call the cops on me. Because then that like admits guilt pretty much.
Right.
So I called the cops. They came and I was like, listen, they're both incredibly drunk. My mom is claiming that I hit her, but she just fell down. Nothing happened. And this actually happened on Thanksgiving. I'm remembering now, before I had to leave, because I was about to leave and then this happened. So I was talking to the cops and were like, listen, I just need to go to my friend's Thanksgiving. They were like, all right, I'll deal with them. Go. So I left. And then flash forward a couple days, it comes up again, because they're still angry about it. They're like, I can't believe you called the cops, even though they were asking me to call the cops.
Yeah.
But it gets to a point where I like am through with it, and I call the cops again, and I'm like, listen, they're neglecting me. They're threatening to hurt me. Can you do anything about it? And these fucking dickhead cops, which this is unlawful, I've been told and have looked this up since, they said because I am in their house and I'm a minor, they can do whatever they want to me.
Bull.
If it's their house. So apparently, like, child abuse is not a thing that exists, or neglect. So those cops were dicks, but sweet justice happened.
Okay.
Kind of. I went back in fuming because I also have a trouble with authority because of my parents and because teachers hating me and not respecting me. So hated those cops. Went back in kind of fuming. My dad and my mom were angry for me calling the cops again. And my mom was like cheering my dad on, being like, hit him, punch him, do something. And I, like, in my angered state, was just like fuming and was like, yeah, do it, punch me. So I didn't think he was actually going to do it. Dad fucking decks me in the face. We full on start fighting. I think I threw a lamp at him, but it didn't break, so that was fine. He punches me like in the cornea and scratches my eye. That hurt like hell. And I was at a point where he was like, he had me in like a chokehold, and I somehow got through. I think I kneed him in the balls or something, which is good call. Do that. And I ran crying. Like, I haven't cried this hard, like terrified in my life since then. To my neighbor's house, my neighbor, kind of a good guy. I don't know. My parents hate him, but like, I think they hate him because he's annoyed with their shit. Like, he's the one like everyone on my neighborhood knows about it. And I didn't know this until that day because like he brought it up. Like, he was talking about how like the neighbors like know when it happens and they have like a name for it or some shit. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, I didn't think this, I knew like certain people knew about it to an extent, but like the entire neighborhood knew. Okay, yeah, so I was at my neighbor's house at this point, and he was like, oh, hell no. I'm pretty sure he said that, like, verbatim.
I mean, did he see that you were all beaten up?
Yeah, everything? I was, like, fucked up, and I was like, please help. And he was like, wait, did your dad just beat you up? And he was like, fuck, it's fucking stupid, which he was in his right mind. So he called the cops. Same goddamn cops who said they couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
Came back around.
Of course they did.
And I just texted my friend. I texted Kevin and was like, hey, can you come get me? My dad just beat me up. I don't know what he thought when he saw that text. But they came and got me, and I stayed with him for a month in December and worked with my parents. I mean, they were like sobering up as I was negotiating with them to move out. Luckily, in the state of Texas, I was 17 at the time. So in the state of Texas, if you have parental consent, you can move out when you're 17 if the like complex allows for it. So that's why I lived in that shitty apartment for 8 months, because it was the only one that would take a 17-year-old. Because everyone else was like, we don't.
Really.
But
I can imagine, especially with you having a non-traditional job as well, to be like, no, but I can pay you through this internet thing.
Internet, that's still an issue, but
that is true. I mean, I struggle with that a lot.
But yeah. So I stayed with Kevin for a month. That was fun. I had never lived anywhere but my childhood home. Never moved, so that was kind of system shock for me, especially like that was that night, that day, whenever that happened. I don't remember the date, but that was a turning point. Like, we filed like a case with Child Protective Services, and a cop came and like took my statement and everything. I was in the hospital, not for like a while, just for like a couple hours, where they gave me some medicine for my eye and shit. And that was that. I moved into that apartment and was like noticeably, like, my friends, like Kevin and Celeste, told me that they could notice how happy I was, like how much happier I was, because I was away from that in that toxic environment.
Yeah, definitely.
And I started to like realize that I hadn't been happy for like 6 years, because the point where I started to comprehend what was happening to me, and realizing that it was making me unhappy, to when I moved out and was able to be like, oh, I'm my own person. I have a job. My friends are great. Everyone's great. And now I'm here, and I am a young boy with the state of a 24-year-old. I don't know what I'm doing, but I got a car now. It's wild.
Yeah.
Well, you have a car.
I have a car.
You're
the co-buyer.
I'm the co-buyer.
Let's get that clear.
Gosh damn.
All right.
Credit score. But yeah, that's the Ballad of Dylan. That was like 9th grade was the turning point in my life, because that's when shit hit the fan.
Yeah.
And I know I said I was going to end this on a happy note, but I don't know. I just want to be real. I still have I have nightmares almost every night. Not of that specific event. Mostly it's school. I have a lot of school nightmares. I used to have a lot of like, oh no, my parents are drunk again nightmares, but hasn't happened in a while, which is good.
Yeah.
And it's just like not something that I worry about too much, because like when I was living with them, I briefly mentioned this earlier. There were a lot of times where we had like a balcony. We had two-story house, and we had a balcony, and I would go hide on the balcony and just listen to what they were talking about.
Yeah.
And just eavesdrop. And I would do this a lot. And a lot of the time it was funny because they were so drunk that they would just be like being stupid.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of entertaining how fucked up that is. But yeah, I don't know. Just if you take anything away from this, if you're in a shitty situation, it gets better.
Yeah.
And don't like talk to people about it. Please talk to people about it. It helps.
God, I just wanted to say, you people listening, I mean, maybe this is me misremembering, but I'm pretty sure you've never told me any of that before.
No?
I don't think so.
Okay.
This is all new information to me.
Fair enough.
So
I feel like I've mentioned it in parts.
You may have mentioned a lot of, like, you've talked about your parents being drunk and everything before.
I don't know who I've told stuff to.
Right. So this was I've heard about some of this stuff through other people.
Okay.
But I was just like, well, Dylan's never said it, so I don't really know how much I want to take into consideration, because I've interacted with your parents before on a few occasions. And my like the first time I met them, I was like, oh, these are fine people. Like, I don't know why Dylan's so angry about it with them all the time. And then like just hearing this, because like it's one of those things where if you're really mean to someone who's not around, then like you kind of come across as like the bad guy. So I was like, oh, Dylan really hates his parents. And then I meet them and I'm like, oh, they don't seem as bad as he's saying. Oh. But then hearing this story, I'm just like, oh, okay, no, there's precedent for this.
I'll clear this up. My mom is a great person when she's not drunk. The only reason she gets drunk and has ever gotten drunk is because my dad gets drunk, and she gets drunk because of him.
Right.
But she, like, when she's normal and working, and for the longest time, there was like talks of divorce all the time. My dad moved out for a couple months years ago, and they were going to get divorced all these times. My mom was like gonna drive away, blah blah blah. But I just thought of another story, but we'll save it.
We're running long.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom's a wonderful person when she's like her own person. My dad, on the other hand, and I don't think he's gonna listen to this, but he does watch my videos. But I don't think he's gonna listen to this. I don't care if he does. He's a jerk.
Yeah.
He's kind of bigoted. He's very condescending. And you might not like notice that at first, but like it's being with him for so long. Like, I've noticed that I don't just like hate him because of the things he's done. He's just not a good person.
Right.
And it frustrates me, but
sure.
I don't know. But yeah, like that my relationship with my mom will always be something that I think is fine as long as she's not drunk. My relationship with my dad, especially after that night, will never be the same again. Like, I will always feel weird around him. Like, there was a time just like a month or two ago where I was alone with him in the house, and I was in the foyer where all of this happened. And he was like getting ready to go. We were going to the bank or something. And I started hyperventilating. I had to walk outside because it was freaking me the fuck out. Because I was in that place and looking at things, and some of the things were still broken from that day, like picture frames and stuff. And I was like, this is not, gotta excuse myself. And he didn't notice. He just thought I was just waiting outside for him. But like, I don't know.
Man.
It's a mess. Talk to people.
Yeah.
That's my advice if you're in a shitty situation like this.
Definitely.
And it gets better.
It
clearly
gets better.
I know you hear that a lot, but it does.
It is a very cliched thing to say, but I mean, just from personal experience, it is very true. I mean, even currently, I'm not in as bad of a spot as you in that story, but like compared to other places, other times of my life, I feel like I'm a little bit worse off right now. But like, I mean, I also know that life has its ups and downs.
Sure, exactly. I mean that I think I'm about to hit an up.
Yeah,
and it's exciting to me.
Yeah,
because I'm being productive again. I am comfortable with the job I'm in. And I won't lie, there were times when I was with NerdSync where I wasn't comfortable. Not that I wasn't comfortable with the job, but just and you experienced this too. It was just like money was becoming an issue at a certain point.
Never not experienced that.
So like, but there were like, I don't know what happened, but the first few months when I was working for NerdSync was fine. I felt like I could spend money on whatever and be fine. And I don't know when that changed.
Sure.
But there were like at least a 4-month period leading up to you letting everybody go that but like I was stressed out a lot. But anyway, it gets better.
It gets better, guys.
That's the motto.
Let's end the show. I'm horribly depressed.
Yeah. We want to die now.
Yes.
How?
Well, hey, everyone, you can follow us on Twitter.
Social media.
I guess. At An Online Podcast, or individually, I'm at Scott Nicewander.
I'm at Orem Alexander.
Cool. And if you're listening to the podcast on iTunes, we appreciate all of your ratings and reviews.
What do you guys think about doing like a more serious, not more serious, but like story time childhood stuff?
Can I be honest?
Every few episodes.
I think the story time stuff is my favorite. More so, like, because I feel
more so than the elephant in the room.
More so than the elephant in the room.
Those are my favorites.
Well, the story time stuff is like interesting because like you're kind of entranced by the whole conversation. Yeah. Whereas if it's
these are definitely better episodes.
These are definitely way better. They flow better. There's no like weird lulls of any kind. I like these a lot, and I like. I mean, every episode can be story time. It just doesn't have to be a specific topic, or it doesn't have to be serious even as well. Like I have a lot of funny stories growing up that I could bring. There's hopefully one day we'll do an episode about our love lives, but they're all sad and horrible and depressing. So.
Never mind.
Let's just move on and end the episode. So thanks for listening, everybody. You know what we should do? I'm thinking of this right now.
Okay.
People who make it all the way through these episodes, we should assign a certain like hashtag or buzzword that people can use either in the YouTube comments, in an iTunes review, or just tweet at us.
Hashtag sad.
I would like something a little bit more.
Hashtag it gets better.
Yeah, hashtag it gets better, guys. If you can use that, it doesn't even have to be a hashtag. If you just want to write it in the YouTube comments or something, or just be really encouraging.
Tell us. I promise you, if you don't want to share like with the internet, your story, but like if you're bottling it up inside, it's gonna come out in some way. Yeah. So just tell it to someone.
Yeah,
Talk to someone. It's cathartic. I promise.
This is gonna sound horrible of me as a transition, but we do have a PO box.
Yes.
So if you want, people have already sent us. People have already sent us some very lovely handwritten letters.
Sure.
And it doesn't have to be handwritten, but like if you're looking for just to write out your feel, even just writing it out, or talking it out.
People cope in many different ways. I know, like something that I tried that didn't really work for me was talking to a camera. Funny enough, it didn't work for me, but
I've done that a bunch.
Yeah, doing like a video journal, not putting it anywhere, just doing it, deleting it, done.
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Just get it out of you.
I do the same thing, and I record it about 4 times. I do it because I am a perfectionist. So I'm like, well, if I'm gonna even if I'm gonna delete it, I'm gonna do it again, like because it just didn't come out perfectly.
Amazing.
And that tends to help me. So like, I mean, I'm not saying, send us all your sad stories or whatever, but like, we're here. We check the PO box frequently, and we read everything and look at everything that comes.
Listen to an 18-year-old boy and a 24-year-old boy about your problems.
Yeah, about your hopefully straight white male problems, because we are not qualified for anything else. No, but we're here for you guys. We love you guys.
I want to close the book on this one, but I got a new book, and it's like
it doesn't make the sound.
I'm gonna try my hardest to close the book.
Sure. Let's do it.
For any of our viewers who have access to internet, we invite your comments.